Hey guys, welcome to the top 10 of my favorite TV shows. If you haven't cheated in the comments yet, I bet you haven't figured out what my favorite show is. I'm hyping this up way too much, but still. Alright, so now we're getting to the top 10. These are my top 10 favorite shows I can watch all the time. Let's get to them. The Simpsons. Okay, you all knew this was coming. It's practically a lot of our childhoods and adulthoods. We have taken so many jokes from this show. They're over-the-top delivery, they're over-the-top animation, over-the-top everything is so enjoyable. I don't think it's a very subtle show, you know, but I don't think it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be one of those shows where just everybody in this environment is crazy. And I think those scenarios are a lot of fun. That's very much like Looney Tunes, where just everybody's a nut. You know, even the straight people, you know, the straight man or straight woman that you play off of is nutty too. It's just they're a little less nutty. And I really like that. I like shows that can do that. And, you know, just have fun with it, and just have fun with these ideas, breaking the fourth wall, having fun with the fact that it's a cartoon and they can do anything with a cartoon. I mean, right down to how they look so strange. It's really weird trying to talk about it because it is just sort of its own thing, and I think it has changed so much. I think it has evolved comedy so much. It's certainly shown what animation in terms of adult comedy can do. So, and like many people, yeah, I don't think it's been particularly good the last few years, though everybody's telling me it's getting good now, you know, that the writing's really coming back and it's being strong. Maybe it is, I don't know, I sort of think like everyone else it should, you know, gracefully bow out, but you never know, maybe it's getting funny again, and if there's a crowd for it, there's a crowd for it, go for it. I really like it from like the third season maybe to like, I don't know, like the 10th or 11th season, something like that, whatever season they're on. I can't keep track of the numbers, but it's something that's always been there. It's something we all quote, all enjoy watching. Anytime The Simpsons is on, you want to see which episode it is. And chances are, you're going to be stuck there no matter what you're doing. I mean, that's like my dinner break every day, is that I go and I watch The Simpsons, you know, on syndication. And it's always great, and I love hearing these lines. Even if I see it a million times, I can watch it a million times or more. I love the show that much. Everybody loves it. What can you say? South Park. Now, we talked about before how Simpsons, you know, sort of losing its edge, you know, okay, maybe they should finally bow and stuff like that. South Park has only gotten better and better, and that's really impressive for as long as it's been on. Their way to always keep current, their way to always sort of tackle what the majority of people are thinking at the moment, or even if they're not, sort of their ability to show a mirror to people and say, this is what you're acting like, this is, you know, this is you know, is this what you want to be? They are so good at that, and they really do take no prisoners. They just go all out there. Many times it really has gotten them in trouble, but they just keep doing their thing, and they're not gonna change. You know, I mean, they are always gonna fight for, you know, freedom of speech and to say what we want and so forth, and what they do have to say is hilarious. Every time South Park comes on, I always sort of say to myself, I don't want to watch that lowbrow whatever. I watch the first 5 minutes, I'm hooked. I have to watch the rest of it. Every time, that's always my reaction. And I guess maybe there is something to just the fact that it is, you know, sort of crude, smut, toilet humor and stuff like that. I mean, that is just, really, I'm laughing at there. I'm supposed to laugh at this sometimes. But what they tie it together with is always so humorous, and it's just so extreme. But it doesn't matter because it's so smart, and it's so clever, and it's working off of something that they feel very passionate about, and they want to really do a comment about, and they really make us understand where they're coming from, and why they think this, and why you probably should too. And they sort of have become this voice of, I don't want to say they became a voice of a generation, but anytime something happens, something big or something goofy or whatever, people want to see how South Park is going to react to it. They want to see what their opinion is. They want to see how they're going to tackle it. And let me tell you, that can apply a lot of pressure for these people, for Trey and Matt. You know, and they can have that affect their writing or be cautious about who they're going to offend. And No, they really just tell it how it is. I mean, even stuff that would probably be very controversial to their fans. You know, that you would think their fans wouldn't enjoy this, or they think it's a cop-out, or they wouldn't agree with their opinion. They just tell it because that's how they see it. At least it seems like it is. I'm not behind the scenes, I don't know. But it seems very much like that. So it really has lasted so long. It's still fresh. It's still funny. These characters are a ton of fun. You're still watching it, so am I. Black Books. Now, I bet a lot of you have never heard of this show. I only discovered it 2-3 years ago, and I was hooked. Again, it's a British show, so there's not many episodes, and it's just about this guy who owns a bookstore, and one guy who works for him, and then the woman owns the store next door, and just their interactions. And really what makes the show so funny is the main character named Bernard, I'm not sure, I think in Britain they call him Bernard. And this is just the most impossible character in the friggin' world. You have never seen anyone more difficult than this guy, and he's just fascinating because of that. He's sort of like Cartman in that sense, you know, just how can anyone be this, you know, sort of negative and deranged and stuff like that, and just so self-centered. And there's just this great joy that comes from how bizarrely egotistical this guy is. I shouldn't say egotistical, because he's actually very self-loathing. But just how... But everything comes back to him. Everything is what he wants. And there's just this immense joy that comes out of him. I don't know what it is. I mean, he owns a bookstore, but he doesn't want to sell the books, because that means he has to order more books. That's how totally crazy this guy is, and it's only by luck that he has this store, you know, and that these people actually will help him out, you know, try to get him through stuff. Again, these two people, his two friends, are also kooky. They're also out of their minds, but they're just less than him. And even at some points, they're more crazy than he is, you know, and... Again, these are just wonderfully pathetic people, beautifully pathetic. And the visuals as well, it's very over-the-top humor, it's very silly humor, that's British humor, you know, so you can't help but always get something really silly and really goofy and over-the-top. And it's just the interactions of these three and the world they inhabit. It's just so much fun, and I'm sure a lot of you haven't heard of it and haven't watched it. Go check it out on DVD. I can almost guarantee you'll love it. It's just... First episode's only okay. All the other episodes are gold. First episode's, I think it's a weird episode to start off on, but I'd say start with the second episode, technically, officially, or whatever. But, yeah, either way, go check it out. It's really great. Roseanne. Now, a lot of you might see this as a weird choice. Like, a lot of you wouldn't think of me as, like, a big Roseanne fan, but, I did grow up with it, but this is another one of those shows, watch it again. It is so much stronger now than it was when you were a kid. This show is very much like Malcolm in the Middle, where they really mixed a lot of real tragedy, real drama, with really funny comedy. These characters really do feel real. I mean, they do not feel like sitcom characters. They don't feel like, oh, the, you know, teenage daughter, what are we gonna do with her and stuff. It's like, no, these are real people, and they're going through real problems, and again, that comedy is sort of just how they deal with it. They're not bad people. The love is there. They just show it in a much different way, you know? I mean, because they are in such, you know, not the best situation. They've never come from a good situation. And they're just trying to get by, you know, throwing insults and throwing comedy and stuff at one another. And, again, every character in there is just a brilliant character. You know, I love Darlene. I love her boyfriend. I love John Goodman in that show. You know, even Roseanne. I mean, just the one-liners she has are so great. And I think what's interesting about the show, the first season, and the first couple seasons, it's sort of more the shock value. It's sort of like South Park that way, in that they were just getting started with the shock value, and that was about it. And it rode that okay. It was okay. The last season is god-awful. As many of you know, there's this whole thing about how a lot of it was a dream, and she sort of did whatever she wanted, and like it's the one where she's Rambo with Steven Seagal. It gets really stupid. Everybody says it's stupid, whatever. That middle bit is just pure gold. And what I like about really good comedies that try to mix comedy and drama is that they let it happen very naturally. It's very flowing. And again, what was great about Roseanne is that there was this unpredictability that you never knew when it was going to go dramatic or when it was going to go funny. And a lot of times, like, you'll have something that's really, really dramatic, but they'll still throw in those funny parts to come back to the comedy. But it never felt forced. It felt very flowing. And they tackled things that, you know, again, people today wouldn't tackle this way. They had this great episode where the son didn't want to kiss this girl because he was a black girl. And it's like, dude, that's one of your main characters. That's the cute little kid saying this. And he's not a punk. He's not a jerk or anything. I mean, he's just sort of, I mean, he's a little odd like all of them, but, you know, it's just the cute little kid. And they talk about it, and they really have to confront the stuff about race and, you know, where they are and thinking about race and stuff like that. And they have them really confess things about them that many can see as very, very ugly, very dark, unpleasant areas. But what I like about the show is what it would bring out all the time is that it does, you know, they're not monsters, they're not, you know, and people aren't just born bad. I mean, it all came from someplace. All these people came from someplace, these unpleasant places. And it doesn't mean they're still horrible, you know, and some of them never do change for the better, sadly. You know, they do stay in these horrible spots. Others are trying to get better, but they don't know how, or they're sort of lost. And this show was so good at that, and I just thought it really blurred that line between what's really tragically funny and just tragically dramatic. You know, just how sad these people really can get, and how they're trying to survive with it, how they're trying to live with it. This is a really strong show, and if you can go back and watch them again, I think you'd be shocked at some of the things they actually talk about and confront, because it's, and not even what they're talking about, how they're doing it, and some of the directness that they're doing with this show. It's really something. Blackadder. Now, if you're a British fan or Rowan Atkinson fan, you know all about this show. A lot of people know Rowan Atkinson from Mr. Bean. I knew him from Blackadder, and I like Blackadder a lot more. I really like this jerk. He's a very enjoyable, you know, pain in the ass. He's very snobby. He blames everybody else but himself, but he's also really smart, which I like, and he has really good quips, and he's usually the guy under the person in charge, and the person in charge is always an idiot. It's always a prince or a queen or a general or something like that, and they're always pure morons, and he's always the second, you know, in command. He always has to answer to the moron, and somehow, you know, he's also a coward, which is great. He's never brave, and so it just creates this really great character, and the side characters are also wonderful because, again, it's just a mad world. And the best way to show that is to have them through different periods of history, because history is quite mad when you think about it. There's a famous line, history would be hilarious if people didn't die in it. And that's very true. And, you know, and people do die in this show, but since it's history and it's in the past, you know, they do play off the comedic aspects of it. And there's a lot of history jokes. It's actually a good history lesson, because, you know, there's a lot of jokes that, you know, younger people or older people and stuff would find very funny. There's a lot of sex jokes, there's a lot of fart jokes, there's a lot of very sophisticated jokes. Every kind of joke is thrown in there, and you're also learning a lot about history. The sets on this show is incredible. You really feel like you're in this time period. And they do it with very minimal, just a few sets, but they put a lot of detail into them, and they do a really good job. And every season takes place in a different time period. So they always have a different part to attack, and the end of every season is always a really dark ending, which I really like. And yeah, I think the only one that's a little bit of a miss, it's funny, but it's not really Blackadder, is the first season. And if you watch the other seasons, you'll see why. Rowan Atkinson is sort of doing his Mr. Bean. He's more doing the weird faces and stuff like that, and he's not very smart, actually, and he's much more of a goofy character. So again, if I was gonna say start off with a season, I start off with the second one and go from there. But again, it's a really smart show, and it takes sort of a while to get used to and to get into it, sort of get the feel it's going for. But once you do, it's really wonderful.